329 million metric tons. That is the estimated lithium resource at a single Canadian project, the Cisco Lithium Project in Quebec's James Bay region. This discovery was made using artificial intelligence and satellite technology. To put this in perspective, global lithium demand is expected to increase fivefold by 2040. Canada may have just found enough lithium to power millions of electric vehicles. The discovery could reshape North American energy independence. It could challenge China's dominance in battery supply chains. It could accelerate the transition away from petroleum-based transportation. This is not speculation. Fleet Space Technologies use satellite-linked AI analysis to map subsurface geology. Q2 Metals is drilling to confirm the estimates. Initial results show thick pegmatite bodies containing spodumene, the lithium mineral used in batteries. The resource estimate is targeted for the first half of 2026. The implications extend beyond one mining project. Canada is positioned to become a global lithium superpower. The country already holds approximately 8% of world rare earth metal reserves. New discoveries are being announced regularly. AI and satellite technology are accelerating exploration across vast Canadian territory. This is about the future of energy, about whether North America can secure battery metal supply chains, about whether the transition to electric transportation depends on geopolitical rivals or reliable allies, about whether Canadian resources can replace Middle Eastern petroleum as the foundation of transportation energy. Lithium is a soft white metal, often called white gold in the context of energy transition. It is the core component of rechargeable batteries. These batteries power everything from smartphones and laptops to electric vehicles and grid storage systems. The metal is extremely light, yet highly reactive. Lithium-ion batteries offer high energy density. This means extended power life in compact form factors. They provide the stability essential for modern digital products and transportation systems. Lithium plays critical roles across multiple sectors. In transportation, it enables electric vehicles that can travel hundreds of miles on single charges. In renewable energy, it provides grid storage that regulates power from intermittent sources like wind and solar. In aerospace, it creates high-performance alloys where lightweight, durable materials are indispensable. In consumer electronics, it powers the devices that define modern communication and computing. Global lithium demand grew approximately 30% in 2023. Battery production drove that increase. Demand is projected to surge again by at least 30% between 2025 and 2026, according to critical mineral forecasts. By 2040, the International Energy Agency estimates lithium demand from clean energy technologies could grow by 5 to 6 times current levels. This creates enormous pressure on supply. New mines typically require nearly a decade from discovery to production. The timeline includes exploration, feasibility studies, environmental assessments, permitting, construction, and ramp-up. Saving even a few years in early exploration matters significantly for markets facing shortages. Currently, spodumene concentrate production occurs mainly in Australia. Refining concentrates into battery-grade chemicals is dominated by China. This concentration creates supply chain vulnerabilities. Countries developing electric vehicle industries and renewable energy grids face dependence on sources they cannot control. The United States particularly faces challenges. America imports most lithium despite having domestic deposits. Development of those deposits has proceeded slowly due to regulatory complexity and capital requirements. The U.S. government has identified lithium as a critical mineral essential for economic and national security. Canada offers a different model. The country has vast mineral-rich geology. It maintains stable regulatory frameworks. It provides access to low-emission hydroelectric power for processing. It shares a border with the United States, shortening supply chains. It has established relationships with allied nations seeking secure mineral sources. The Cisco Lithium Project exemplifies Canada's potential. The project covers over 41,000 hectares in the EU ISCHI James Bay territory. This is an emerging zone for lithium exploration in northern Quebec. Fleet Space Technologies led the geological modeling. The company is an Australian firm that builds satellite-linked tools for finding minerals. Their system is called Exosphere. It combines satellite observations with ground-based sensors to predict subsurface rock types and mineral deposits. The technology works by analyzing how seismic waves travel through different geological structures. Artificial intelligence trained on past drilling datasets and hundreds of surveys builds geology models. The system can propose drill targets within 48 hours rather than months of traditional survey work. At Cisco, Exosphere identified structures indicating lithium-bearing pegmatites across a large area. The exploration target is approximately 300 million tons of lithium rock grading 1% lithium oxide. Adding probable extensions brings the total target to 329 million metric tons. This would place Cisco among the largest hard rock lithium prospects currently being tracked in the James Bay region. For context, that is enough lithium to produce batteries for tens of millions of electric vehicles over the project's lifetime. Q2 Metals holds the Cisco Project. The company has been conducting drilling to verify and expand the AI-predicted resource. Results released in late 2025 showed thick intersections of spodumene-bearing pegmatite. Some drill holes encountered mineralization over 100 meters in thickness. The spodumene crystals appear as pale green minerals within the pegmatite host rock. Pegmatite is very coarse-grained granite that forms from magma enriched in lithium during late-stage cooling. These rocks concentrate lithium to economically viable grades. Laboratory testing shows the rock can be upgraded to 6% lithium oxide concentrate with an assumed recovery of approximately 81.5%. This matters for processing economics. Higher recovery rates and concentrate grades reduce costs and improve project viability. The mineralization remains open both at depth and along strike. This means the current footprint may expand significantly as drilling progresses. Q2 mobilized a fourth drilling rig in late 2025 to accelerate the program ahead of the planned resource estimate in the first half of 2026. The Association de l'Exploration Minière du Québec listed Cisco as a finalist for its Discovery of the Year award. This recognition highlights both the project's scale and the innovative exploration methods that enabled the discovery. But Cisco is not alone. Canada is experiencing a broader lithium exploration boom driven by technology and market demand. In Ontario, the Georgia Lake Rare Element District has yielded multiple discoveries. The Jackpot Project identified 6 new zones rich in high-purity lithium in late 2025. The project carries an initial mineral resource estimated at approximately 3.4 million short tons indicated and 5.8 million short tons inferred. Comet Lithium discovered new spodumene mineralization at the Elmer East property in Quebec's East Main Greenstone Belt. The exposed pegmatite averages 3 to 7 feet in width and can be tracked along strike. The company plans trenching and potentially drilling to follow up. Across northern Quebec and Ontario, numerous companies are conducting lithium exploration. The James Bay region alone hosts several confirmed deposits and many prospects. The area benefits from existing road infrastructure, including the Billy Diamond Highway and proximity to port facilities. The concentration of activity reflects favorable geology. Ancient greenstone belts contain the right conditions for lithium-bearing pegmatites. Multiple granite intrusions can feed swarms of pegmatite dikes containing commercial lithium mineralization. Technology is accelerating the pace of discovery. Satellite imagery and drone surveys help spot remote outcrops that might otherwise go unnoticed. Geologists verify targets with mapping and sampling. Geophysical surveys that map rocks using electromagnetic or other methods help position drill collars without extensive guesswork. AI analysis of spectral data, soil chemistry, and vegetation markers can guide drilling while minimizing environmental disruption. These methods reduce the land area that must be physically disturbed during early exploration. They also cut time and cost compared to traditional approaches requiring extensive ground surveys. The Canadian government has supported this technological transformation. The critical minerals strategy prioritizes technologies that accelerate discovery while reducing environmental impact. Target minerals receive differentiated approaches. For lithium, this includes quantum-enhanced analytical systems for rapid analysis and AI-driven pattern recognition for deposit identification. The strategy commits substantial investment to exploration technology. This framework positions Canada to maintain competitive advantages in global markets for battery materials and renewable energy components. Canada holds an estimated 6 million metric tons of lithium reserves by some projections for 2026. These reserves are distributed across multiple provinces. Quebec and Ontario lead current exploration, but potential exists in other regions, including the Northwest Territories and British Columbia. The country also produces or has reserves of other critical battery materials. This includes nickel, cobalt, graphite, and manganese. Integrated supply chains could source multiple battery components from Canadian mines. This offers substantial advantages for manufacturers seeking secure, verifiable supply chains. Processing infrastructure is developing alongside exploration. Refining lithium concentrate into battery-grade chemicals requires chemical processing plants. These facilities are energy intensive. Canada's abundant hydroelectric power provides lower emission electricity compared to coal-based grids used in some other countries. Quebec's hydropower capacity specifically attracts processing investment. Power generated from moving water allows operations with significantly reduced carbon footprints. For battery producers and electric vehicle manufacturers concerned about total life cycle emissions, Canadian lithium offers environmental advantages beyond the electric vehicles themselves. The geopolitical implications are substantial. China currently dominates lithium refining with approximately 60 to 70% of global capacity. This creates dependencies for countries pursuing electric vehicle industries. Supply disruptions or political tensions could constrain battery production in North America and Europe. Canadian lithium resources offer an alternative. Production and processing in Canada provides North American automakers with supply chains not subject to geopolitical volatility. It shortens shipping distances compared to Australian concentrate shipped to China for refining, then exported again as battery chemicals. The United States government has explicitly prioritized securing critical mineral supply chains. Canada features prominently in American plans due to geographic proximity, stable governance, and allied relationship. The U.S.-Canada relationship on critical minerals includes cooperation on exploration, processing, and manufacturing. For Canada, lithium development represents economic opportunity. Mining projects create direct employment in exploration, development, and operations. They generate tax revenue for provincial and federal governments. They create demand for equipment, services, and supplies from other Canadian businesses. Indigenous communities hold rights and interests in areas containing lithium deposits. Under Canadian law, particularly in Quebec, exploration and development require consultation and often partnership with Indigenous governments. Projects must undergo environmental assessments that include Indigenous participation. The Cisco Project lies within the traditional territory of the Cree Nation of EU Ischii. Q2 metals must engage with Cree communities throughout the process. This adds time, but builds legitimacy and ensures projects reflect Indigenous interests and knowledge. Some Indigenous communities have expressed interest in economic participation. Mining can provide employment, business opportunities, and revenue sharing. But concerns exist about environmental impacts, changes to traditional land use, and adequacy of consultation processes. Successful projects will require genuine partnerships that respect Indigenous rights and address community concerns. This is both legally required and ethically necessary. It also makes practical sense because community support facilitates permitting and operations while opposition creates delays and risks. Environmental considerations extend beyond community concerns. Lithium mining has environmental footprints like all mining. Open pit operations disturb land. Processing generates waste rock and tailings. Water usage can affect local hydrology. Chemical processing creates waste streams requiring management. However, hard rock lithium mining's environmental impacts differ from some other extraction methods. Brine operations in South America evaporate vast quantities of water in desert regions. This affects local ecosystems and communities. Hard rock mining in Canada occurs in different geological and hydrological contexts. Modern mining practices include extensive environmental monitoring, progressive reclamation, and water treatment. Regulations require companies to plan for closure from the beginning. Bonds or other financial assurances ensure funds exist for eventual site remediation. The environmental case for lithium centers on its role enabling emission reductions in transportation and energy. Electric vehicles produce zero direct emissions. Even accounting for electricity generation, life cycle emissions are significantly lower than gasoline vehicles in grids with renewable or low-emission power. Grid storage batteries enable higher penetration of wind and solar power. These intermittent sources require storage to provide reliable electricity when sun and wind are unavailable. Lithium batteries provide that storage capability at scales from residential to utility. The transition from petroleum-based transportation to electric vehicles represents one of the largest industrial transformations in history. Hundreds of millions of vehicles globally must be replaced. Each vehicle requires substantial battery capacity. Those batteries require lithium. If that lithium comes from Canadian mines processed with Canadian hydropower, the emissions profile improves compared to supply chains dependent on coal power. The materials enabling emission reductions themselves have lower embedded emissions. This creates market opportunities for Canadian producers who can document environmental performance. Battery manufacturers and vehicle companies face increasing pressure to disclose supply chain emissions. Canadian lithium with verifiable low-carbon processing offers competitive advantages in markets demanding sustainability credentials. The economics depend on prices and costs. Lithium prices fluctuated significantly in recent years. They surged in 2021 and 2022 as battery demand accelerated. They declined in 2023 and 2024 as new supply came online and demand growth moderated. Price volatility affects project economics. High prices make more deposits economically viable. Low prices challenge higher cost operations. Canadian projects must compete globally. They benefit from lower shipping costs to North American markets, but may face higher labor and regulatory costs than some jurisdictions. Automation and technology can improve cost competitiveness. AI-guided exploration reduces drilling costs. Advanced processing technologies improve recoveries. Renewable power reduces energy costs and emissions simultaneously. Digital tools optimize logistics and operations. Access to capital matters significantly. Developing a lithium mine from discovery to production requires hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, depending on scale. Investors assess geology, economics, management, permitting risk, and market conditions. Canadian projects benefit from established capital markets and mining finance expertise. Toronto hosts one of the world's largest mining investment centers. Australian, European, and American investors participate in Canadian mining. Government programs provide support for critical mineral development. The timeline from discovery to production remains lengthy, even with technological acceleration. Cisco's resource estimate is expected in first half of 2026. If positive, the project would proceed to feasibility studies examining engineering costs and economics in detail. Environmental assessments and Indigenous consultation would intensify. Permitting would require approvals from multiple agencies. Construction of a mine and processing facility typically requires several years. Ramp up to full production takes additional time. Even with aggressive development, Cisco would not produce lithium until the early 2030s at earliest. Other Canadian projects at more advanced stages could produce sooner, but the industry faces a gap between current supply capacity and projected demand growth. Multiple large new projects globally must succeed to meet battery demand through 2030 and beyond. This creates both opportunity and risk. Opportunity exists for well-positioned projects in stable jurisdictions with good geology and infrastructure. Risk exists that demand growth disappoints, new technologies reduce lithium requirements, or supply increases faster than demand, creating persistent oversupply. Battery chemistry continues evolving. Current lithium-ion batteries will improve in energy density and cost. Alternative chemistries, including solid-state batteries, may eventually reduce lithium content per unit of energy storage. Sodium-ion batteries might substitute for lithium in some applications. However, even with technology improvements, the scale of transition suggests strong lithium demand for decades. The existing vehicle fleet globally exceeds 1 billion units. Replacing even a fraction with electric vehicles requires massive battery production. Grid storage needs add further demand. Recycling will eventually provide secondary lithium supply. As first-generation electric vehicles reach end of life, their batteries can be recycled. This creates closed-loop supply chains, reducing primary mining requirements. But recycling cannot meet demand during the growth phase when the battery fleet is expanding. Therefore, primary lithium production must increase substantially. Canada's resources position the country to capture significant market share if projects can be developed successfully. The competitive landscape includes established producers and new entrants. Australia leads current hard rock production. Chile and Argentina dominate brine operations. China controls refining and increasingly invests in upstream mining globally. Canada competes on different dimensions. It offers political stability and regulatory certainty. It provides access to major markets through established trade relationships. It has technical expertise in mining and processing. It can leverage hydropower for low-emission refining. Strategic partnerships enhance competitiveness. Canadian producers can contract with battery manufacturers or automakers seeking secure supply. Government-to-government agreements can facilitate investment and market access. Indigenous partnerships can provide social license and local knowledge. The broader context is North American industrial policy. The United States passed legislation legislation supporting domestic battery and electric vehicle production. This includes requirements for North American battery material content to qualify for subsidies. Canadian lithium fits these requirements given trade agreements. Mexico also factors into North American battery supply chains. Lithium deposits exist in Mexico, though development has faced challenges. Integration of Canadian materials, Mexican manufacturing, and American markets could create comprehensive regional supply chains. This regional approach contrasts with globalized supply chains dependent on distant sources. Regional supply chains offer resilience against disruptions, shorter lead times, and better alignment of environmental and labor standards. For Canada specifically, lithium development intersects with broader economic transitions. The country has historically depended heavily on petroleum exports. As global energy systems transition toward electrification, petroleum demand faces long-term structural challenges. Lithium and other battery materials offer alternative export opportunities. They support employment in mining regions. They generate government revenues. They position Canada as contributor to rather than obstacle to global emission reduction efforts. This transition is not without tensions. Petroleum workers and communities dependent on oil and gas production face uncertain futures. Investments in battery materials cannot simply replace petroleum jobs one for one. Geographic distribution differs. Skill requirements vary. Time horizons don't align perfectly. Managing this transition requires thoughtful policy. It means supporting affected workers and communities while enabling new industries. It means ensuring benefits from resource development are shared broadly. It means maintaining environmental standards while facilitating necessary industrial development. The Cisco discovery and broader Canadian lithium potential represent strategic assets in this transition. They don't solve all challenges, but they provide options and opportunities that didn't exist previously. Whether Canada successfully develops these resources depends on multiple factors. Continued exploration must confirm and expand known deposits. Companies must secure financing and navigate permitting. Communities must be genuine partners in development. Markets must value Canadian production appropriately. Technology will continue playing central roles. AI and satellite methods will identify new targets. Automation will improve mining productivity and safety. Processing innovations will enhance efficiency and reduce environmental impacts. Digital tools will optimize operations and supply chains. International cooperation will matter. Canada cannot and should not develop resources in isolation. Partnerships with allied nations align security interests with economic opportunities. Technology sharing advances collective capabilities. Market development requires collaboration between miners, processors, manufacturers, and consumers. The timeline extends decades. Even aggressive development cannot transform Canadian lithium potential into full-scale production overnight. But the foundation is being laid. The discoveries are being made. The technologies are being deployed. The partnerships are being formed. 329 million metric tons at Cisco represents more than a number. It represents potential energy security for North America. It represents emission reduction potential through electrified transportation. It represents economic opportunity for Canada and partners. It represents geopolitical options in supply chain diversification. Whether that potential is realized depends on choices made in coming years. Choices about investment priorities, choices about regulatory approaches, choices about indigenous partnerships, choices about environmental stewardship, choices about international cooperation. The resource exists in Canadian geology. The technology exists to find and extract it. The demand exists globally for battery materials. What remains is execution through complex technical, economic, social, and political challenges. Canada has opportunity to become a lithium superpower, to provide secure battery material supply for allied nations, to demonstrate that resource development can align with Indigenous rights and environmental responsibility, to contribute substantially to global emission reduction through enabling electrified transportation and renewable energy storage. The Cisco discovery and similar finds across the country provide the raw material for that vision. Turning discovery into productive mines, into reliable supply chains, into economic and strategic benefits requires sustained effort across multiple fronts. But the fundamental prerequisites are present. The geology is favorable, the technology is available, the markets are growing, the political will exists. The partnerships are forming 329 million metric tons of lithium potential. Enough to power the transition from petroleum to electricity and transportation. Enough to anchor North American battery supply chains. Enough to reshape Canada's role in the global economy. The future of energy is being discovered in Canadian rock. Whether that future arrives on timeline and at scale to meet global needs remains to be determined. But the possibility exists. The work continues, and the potential is enormous.